I'm Allie. I'm going to show you how to make Cheryl's Rose Bouquet Earrings featuring some Potomac pearls and some Potomac crystal rivolis. These are gorgeous, and you'll want to hit the link below the video in that little description to get back to the website so you can gather all your materials. Gather all the materials up and let's get started. So to begin, we're going to be using our 3mm pearls, our 8 seed beads, and we're going to use our 10mm rivoli. I also have my 15s here and then my 14 just hanging out, getting ready for that flower to get created. I have a size 11 needle with some 8 dragon thread in the white color, and I've already put on that thread and needle a pearl followed by an 8-0, repeating that pattern 6 times. The first thing we're going to do is drop those down towards the end of the thread, and we are going to sew this into a loop. So you are going through and tying it once and tying it twice. You only need enough thread here to be able to tie off your thread end, so you're not going to leave a ton there. Pull that nice and tight, and then take your thread and needle away from that knot by sewing through the next pearl and coming out after your next 8-0 seed bead. Once you're through that 8-0 seed bead, we're going to do the exterior of our little flowers here. And what that is going to look like is some 15-0s wrapping around each pearl. Coming out of the 8-0, you're going to pick up 5 of your 15s. And then you're going to skip over the pearl and sew into the next 8-0 seed bead. Once you're in through there, through the next 8-0 seed bead, you're just going to repeat this an additional 5 times, getting that little floral look. Once you put your rivoli there, you can see how you can just slightly see the pearls and those seed beads hanging out the edge of the design. Go ahead and continue with the 5 seed beads wrapped around the pearls the whole way till you get them around each of your 6 pearls. Once you have the seed beads around all of your flowers, we're going to start making another loop that's going to bend in and hold our 10mm rivoli in place. So just like we did when we picked up our 5 seed beads, we're going to do the exact same thing, but this time our count that we pick up is going to be 7. So you're going into your 15-0s and you're going to pick up a total of 7 15s. And then once you have those 7 15s on your needle, skip over the pearl again, and once again, just go through the next 8-0 seed bead. Make sure that these all stay to the same side, which is going to be the top, as we get ready to do one more layer of our netting to bend these in and hold the crystal in place. Once you have those 7 seed beads along the edge, I just want to show you how cute of a design this is when you flip it over. It looks like a little flower even there, and you can simply make a pair of a pendant or even a smaller design to match. Flipping it back over to where we did the 7 beads, or what's going to be the 7 prongs, oops, wrong crystal, you can see that these are going to fold in towards the interior and hold the crystal in place. We still have 2 more rotations to do for that, but we are going to do another set of netting. So this is considered netting, kind of going from one to the other, adding extra beads, and we are going to sew up to the top of the netting. So we have a total of 7 beads that we added. We want to bring our needle and thread up to the top or to that 7th bead and exit. Very, very commonly when you're doing a netting, there's always an odd amount of beads that you are going to catch onto that basically odd bead and keep building from there. Here what we're going to do, I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer for you so that way you can see how we're getting from one to the other. Once you're out of that 4th bead, we're going to go to every little section here and we are going to catch on to that 4th bead. In between, we're going to add some beads that are going to pull towards the middle. In Cheryl's piece, she added in all 15s. If you want to, you can even add in a center bead as an 8-0 as well. I'm going to add 4 seed beads, and then we are going to sew on to our next center bead. Oops, sorry, 3 seed beads. So that one back out there, pop that guy off, and on we go. From here again, 3 seed beads, keeping that odd count. In towards the center of that last little petal that you made of 7, and add 3 more beads. And this is going to start to fold in towards the interior of the design because, again, it's holding the bezel in place. 3 seed beads, over to the next one. Make sure as you're doing this that you're always catching on to that middle seed bead so it sits nicely. 3 beads go on, over to that one there. 3 more seed beads go on over to here. Now you'll notice I'm not pulling in really tightly on this, and you still see a lot of thread exposed because we want to pop our rivoli in before we do so. 3 more beads go in, and then you're going to go into that very first bead that your thread was coming out of. Now you see all those thread passes. We're going to drop our crystal in place, and we're going to give a nice tight pull to pull that in towards the center of the design. From here, we're going to sew back through all of the beads that we just added, pushing that rivoli further down into the bezel. As we sew into all of the beads that we just added, I want you to skip over the bead that you were sewing through from the row before it. So you're just going through all 3 beads that you just added. And what that's going to do is pull that middle row of seed beads in even tighter and get it towards the center of the piece. So in towards the center, you're just doing those 3 beads. It's going to pull it in and make for a nice tight bezel. 3 beads. If you have a little Charlotte, which a little education, if you don't know what a Charlotte is, they have a smaller 15-0. Charlottes are produced in the Czech Republic, and they are a tiny 15-0. You can use those in between these groups of 3 if you want, but if you pull tightly, you shouldn't see too much thread at all. So you'll notice again, I'm not pulling super tight yet. I'm going a little bit tight as I go around and go back through that center bead as well. So you're going back through all 3 beads along that edge. And again, only through the 3 beads, not through the middle. And see how that pulls that in and gives you just that little bit of the floral design on the outer edge. That is the top of our piece. Now what we're going to do is mimic that just a little bit bigger to the bottom of the piece to get the 14mm in the same way. So again, we did some netting that we have the pearl there. There's the back. If you like the back better, you can always flip over the pearl if you want to see more of that rather than less of that seed bead look. I'm going to go through and just stick this to the side, tie this completely off or stick it to the side. Either way, I like to keep the thread on because of the connection point. There's a lot of different ways to do the connection point, and we do need to add our wire guard if you want to. So right now, actually, let's go ahead and add our wire guard, going in through those 3 seed beads there, going out through the edge now, coming down through our piece, going down through that line of seed beads, trying to catch on to all of them. If you can't catch on to all of them, no big deal. Take your needle and thread out and then on to the next one. From here, I'm going to come out along the side here, go through the 8-0, and then remember that initial little wrap that we did that was our 5 seed beads. I want you to come out after seed beads number 1 and 2, sew through there, and then we're going to add our wire guard. For the wire guard or wire guardian, if you've never used one, I like to keep a big box of them here. And I'm going to grab out some wire guards here, 1 for each earring. They're a little U-shaped channel. And the U-shaped channel, you're going to go up through one side of the U-shaped channel. You're going to wrap around the top of that U-shaped channel and sew into the opposite side of the U-shaped channel. It has little tubes basically on either side, and it's open at the top, which allows you to push the thread down in and a nice finished look. Skip over that middle 3rd bead and sew down through beads number 4 and 5. Go back through your pearl here, reinforce the thread, do the same thing, and then go ahead and tie your thread ends off since it's right there. From there, we're going to get ready to go ahead and start our bottom section, which again, you can do just a 1 simple earring, or you can do the 2 as well. So to start out for the bigger rivoli, doing the exact same thing just to show you, instead of doing 6 pearls and followed by 1 8-0 seed bead, I did 9 pearls and followed by 1 8-0 seed bead. And then refresher from the beginning, we're adding 5 15-0 seed beads, and then we are going into our next 8-0 seed bead. After the 8-0 seed bead then, and going the whole way around here on that outer edge, what we're going to do is make our next loop. And the next loop then is going to be the one that's the interior that we pull in towards the center to do our bezel as well here. So instead of going through and doing it to 6 pearls, you're just going to go through and do it then to all 9 of those pearls, those little seed beads coming on the outside. Then we're going to go through just like we did previously, and we are going to do 7 seed beads in addition. So 1 loop of 5, 1 loop of 7. After you get done the loops of 5 and then that interior loop of 7, you're doing the exact same thing, coming through and out one of your groups of 7, but only going through beads 1, 2, 3, and get that there, 4. Once you're out and through bead 4 along that initial row, you're going to do the exact same thing, adding 1, 2, 3 seed beads, and then going over to the point of the next one through bead number 4 and connecting there. Same thing with here. I'm not going to go in and pull it tight yet until I go in and add my rivoli in. And this here is for the 14 millimeter rivoli. You just have to alter the sizes if you want to make it a little bit bigger. So we've touched on the 10 and the 14. If you want to go up to an 18 or down to a 12, you can just do some simple trials for the different sizes. Going around here then to that outer edge, picking up that 4th bead always, you're going to connect all 9 of those lines. Once these are all connected and combined, that's when we're going to go in and kind of pull the rivoli in place, pull the line nice and tight, and then get ready for that next step. Here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Over back through that first one that our thread was coming out of. Pin that starter thread kind of down towards the back. Pop your rivoli in and start to pull. Just like we did on the last one too, to pull it nice and tighter, you're going to skip over the bead that you were going through. Go through the 3 beads that you just added, kind of pressed on that rivoli, and spin the whole way along that outer loop, just sewing through the 3 beads that were added, skipping over that original bead number 4 from the previous row of the netting that you were sewing into to add these 3. I'm going to go around here, tighten this up. And I like how much like this pattern can change up a little bit if you want to do some more little branches to it. Just a really nice simple netting that Cheryl did here. In her sample, she used one of the galvanized seed beads as well. So just wanted to make it in a different colorway so you could see some different options in there. Going the whole way around then, again, skipping over that center bead. And then once we're done this, all we need to do is make our connection point. And the connection point is going to link the one rivoli in the 10 millimeter to the 14 millimeter rivoli. When doing so, also keep in mind, you don't have to do both. So while it is lovely to have one stacked on top of the other, if you're not a big earring wearer, you don't need to do that second one. You can simply make a bigger one or make a smaller one. What we're going to do now is get ready to connect the 2 for our earring. To connect to the 2, it's really, really simple. Number of different ways that you can do it, but we're going to make it kind of look like a continuous line. You're going to go opposite from your wire guard, and that's where we are going to connect the 2 together. So I'm coming out of one of those groups of 5 from the bottom one here, and I'm going to go into the bottom here, and I'm going to sew in through numbers 2 and 3 of that loop along the bottom. And see how that just kind of makes it look like a continuous line there? We're going to go to the other side then. And how are we going to get to the other side? We are going to go through the pearl here that sits behind that line and out. Once we're through that pearl and out, we're going to go over to the seed beads that sit on this side here and go through seed beads 1 and 2. Ignoring number 3. So number 3 never gets connected to. From here then we're going to go in towards the opposite direction. So we were coming out this way, we're going to cross over and go down the opposite way. Oops, sorry, a little bit off there. So think of it almost like a figure 8. And it's just going to sit right along the top here. Same thing here, going through the pearl, going back up through those beads, around one more time, and then simply tying that thread edge off. So I'm going to go through the pearl here, bring my thread and needle out after the pearl. It can be a little tricky to do that. You kind of need to wiggle it a little bit to the side. And like I said earlier, if you want just a really nice florally view, you can actually change this to the opposite side and put your beads face down so that color is all on this side and you're not seeing the 15 O's and exposing a lot of that. From here again up through the beads number 1, 2, and 3 along this bottom section here. When you go through beads 1, 2, and 3 and bring your needle and thread out, then you're going through the top through beads, what are really 3 and 4, or sorry, 4 and 5. Circle around through the pearl. Once again, if you want, honestly, you can stretch right over. Nobody's going to see it. It's the back. Go down through the 2 along the side here and come down through the opposite direction. What this does then is brings my thread right down here to the pearl. I'm going to take my thread and needle over through the pearl, some seed beads, and all I'm going to do is get my thread and needle to come out right near that starter thread. Bring that starter thread through the back. So if you need to, you can kind of tuck it through the back of the design, pull it out, tie those 2 thread ends, and that completes the little rose bouquet earring. Such a fun, simple earring. You're just going to take your ear wire. You can take a huggy earring if you want to. It would look great hanging from a huggy. Put that on there. Always when you're opening your ear wire, make sure that you twist it to the side, put that guy in, close it up, and good to go. Remember, when you tie off your thread ends and get them in the same place, go ahead and take your thread burner and burn it down so that way the thread does not come apart in that knot. Thank you to Cheryl for another beautiful design here with these rose bouquet earrings. They really do catch your eye and catch the light. I can't wait to see all of the different colors that you guys do posted in our Facebook group for beading and jewelry making. So many change-ups can be made, again, flipping the rivoli to the front or the back and changing up the colors and even the pattern. Just a really nice way to do a simple netting. As always, if you need the materials for this earring, go ahead and look below the video. In the description, we'll put links there to get back to our site. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Thanks so much for watching, Potomac Beaders, and stay tuned for more inspirational designs.